Thank you, Margaret. Okay, welcome. Let us now share the screen. What are we looking at? Let's see. Let's try this. Okay. Very good. So welcome. We are now going to continue our deep dive into visualization meditation and review techniques on how to do it. We will also continue our study of mindfulness and compare it to concentration. We have come a very long way. Look at this, all these different meditation techniques from the Jewish tradition. We are chock full of them and we still have more to go. Right now we're going to do the visualization deep dive. Pending, we have meditation and remolding the self. Okay, so how did we get started on this visualization deep dive? Well, it started with Rabbi Kaplan when he was talking about visualization and intimacy between a man and a woman. Hopefully they know each other. Only kidding. Okay. And he talked about how meditation enhances pleasure and connection. He even spoke about meditation to conceive and meditation being used to somehow influence the characteristics and personality of the offspring. He talked about that really advanced situation with Jacob, using meditation to affect the genetic makeup of the offspring of sheep. Very amazing thing. And he talked about how a couple could and should visualize, okay, and really develop a mindset about their partner. Okay. So obviously he places a keen emphasis on the visual faculties that we have in a very physical confrontation and engagement. Okay. So we then explored what exactly is that visual component. And we looked at his essay about visualization, meditation, and we covered a few items. We talked about the hewing, the engraving and hewing, where engraving means you have an image and in your mind, it's actually carved into the screen of your mind. Ah, okay, so it's there on a permanent basis. It's good, it's stuck in there. That's the engraving part. And the hewing part is slicing away the other images that come that distract you from this engraved image. So if you're looking at your partner, you have an engraved image of your partner, and you're using the faculties of your mind to sweep away other images, leaving that image there, and you can build on that image. Okay. In general terms, that's kind of what he's talking about. All right, so let's, however, take a deeper dive into the mechanics of visualization. For that, we're going to look at an article in Forbes magazine by a meditation expert named Bhali Gill. Let us see what Bhali Gill has to talk about with meditation. So let me see if I could do this. Okay. I'm going to stop the share for a second. We're going to start the share again. And we're going to go to this article, hopefully. Let's see if I could do this. Okay. I'm trusting that you can see an article that says, next, new to visualization, here are 5 steps to get you started. If you cannot, please yell at the top of your lungs.
Cannot. I see something that says Zoom Solutions.
Oh. Mm-hmm. Is that what everybody else sees? Speak now or forever hold your peace. Okay.
Yes, that is what I see too. Me
Zoom
too.
Solutions. Okay. Okay. Sorry about this. Hold on. I'm going to give this another whirl. Okay. Do you now see an article that says new to visualization?
Yes, yes,
Yes.
yes.
Bravo. Okay. Very good. Let's continue. Okay. So we've talked about visualization as being a component, a core component in the connection between a couple that's physically intimate. We've talked about some of the mechanics of visualization, where you're able to fix an image in your mind by first imagining that it's engraved on the screen of your mind, and then you're hewing away or brushing away other images that distract you from the core image. Okay, and let's talk a little bit about more practical steps and exactly how to get this done. So this is what this meditation expert says in this article from Forbes. And as a reminder, remember that Rabbi Kaplan tells us that meditation is meditation is meditation is meditation across all kinds of cultures. So I feel free to pick and choose from other meditation experts in other worlds, because what they're talking about is the same thing we're talking about. They're just giving us the detail that we need. Okay, what does he say? Many people aren't aware of how powerful visualizing can be in their lives. In fact, many of us are doing plenty of visualizations every day. The problem is that most of us are doing visualizations to create the life we don't want. We are often using it to imagine the worst outcomes of things or worrying about the future. If you can remember the time when you worried so much about something that had actually happened, it's probably a good example of using visualization to create the life you don't want. That's a really good point. Again, we've talked about this. You're always envisioning yourself doing something. And depending on your frame of mind, you can visualize yourself being miserable or doing things that make you miserable. And to the contrary, you can visualize yourself doing stuff that makes you happy. Which, if you're talking about visualization with your partner, you really should concentrate on the happy stuff. Visualization isn't something fluffy used by people who aren't living in reality. It's quite the opposite. It's used by a whole array of people who know how to use it to bring about positive outcomes in their life. Many athletes, including Olympians, use it to excel in their sports. The benefits of visualizing is also there for children. Research in Ottawa found that child table tennis players between the ages of 7 to 10 perform better when they use visualizations or mental imagery. We're going to take a deep dive into that. There's some fascinating data about how visualization training is equivalent to physical training in terms of it improving your performance. It's astounding. Very powerful stuff. And we do it all the time. Interestingly, research has also found that people who imagine themselves performing a task improve their performance in that task without physically doing anything. Okay, that's what a psychologist at Cleveland Clinic in Ohio found. He discovered that people who did a virtual workout over 3 months in their minds were able to increase their muscle strength by 13.5% versus 30% by the people who actually did the work. We'll give more details about that, but if you are able to visualize with such potency, it affects you physiologically. Now, I'll give you an example. A common example of this, small scale example, but it's real. If we were sitting at a table and I was to say, oh my goodness, there's a spider crawling on your sleeve, you'd be like, wow, you'd believe it, and your whole nervous system would go, wow, okay, even though there's no spider. So you induce the mind, if you can induce the mind to believe something, it has a real physical reaction to this. Okay. So you could see why super athletes, why serious athletes would develop advanced skills in visualization, because it does affect them physiologically. Okay. Okay, so let us continue. Here we go. Here are some steps. In order to visualize and accurately manifest what you want in life. Number one, know what you want. In order to visualize and manifest the kind of life you want, it's very important to have a clear idea of what you want and why. This can be achieved by understanding what you value and what brings you the most joy in life. Have you ever had that moment when you were doing something and felt joyful doing it? If yes, then that is a good sign of something you might want to have in your life. Ask yourself, if I had nothing holding me back, what would I want to see in my life? Okay, they're talking about designing your life. It could be very simple. Remember, we were talking about a form of meditation, enlightenment, of developing certain midot, certain personality characteristics in you. Okay, so let's say one of them is kindness, is chesed. You picture yourself being kind. You can actually say, where's a situation where I need to be a little bit more kind? Maybe I don't smile when I go to the checkout counter in ShopRite. You look at yourself and say, I'm just kind of like busy on my phone, or I'm busy thinking about whatever, and I neglect to smile. So you picture yourself smiling at the checkout counter, and what are you going to be doing next time you're at ShopRite? You're going to be smiling at the checkout counter. Okay, you picture yourself doing it. You're programming yourself to do that. Okay. Number two, describe your vision in detail. This is one of the most important steps. When you want to manifest the life you want, and again, they're talking about life design, that's fine. We could also boil it down to specific instances, specific situations. You have to create a clear vision of what it should look like. You can write this down in detail, or you could create a vision board. This will help you to create a clear and full picture of what your life would look like. All right, remember I told you last week, I know people that are, picturing this vacation in the Bahamas, in the Caribbean, and this is what the hotel is. That's in their mind. Good. Okay. In the scenario of being a nice, friendly person at the ShopRite checkout, like, there's the person, and here's me, and my phone is not in my hand, and I'm not preoccupied, and I'm paying attention to what the person's doing. I'm listening when they say thank you. I'm saying you're welcome, thank you. The whole thing is, you're going through the whole thing. Now, it does take time to do that. It takes steps, envision this, envision this, envision this. A lot of us aren't that visual, so you got to work at it, okay? And you get bits and pieces of the picture together until you finally get the whole picture. Okay, so it takes multiple steps to do this, like anything else. 3, start visualizing and creating the emotions. Once you are ready, you can take a moment to start envisioning the actual outcome. Start to imagine the sights, the sounds, the smells, and even the taste of achieving what you want. As you go along, don't forget to feel the emotions you would feel as if this life was your reality now. This is like, not just don't forget, this is what makes the vision real for your body. You feel the emotion that you want to be feeling at the time. It's like, so what are you going to be feeling when the ShopRite clerk says, thank you very much, and you say, well, thank you very much. You're going to feel good. You picture yourself feeling good. I'm happy, I'm friendly. I am glad that I was nice to this person. I can feel myself smiling. You get all this stuff. You get all this stuff. You feel all this, and that's what enlivens the picture in your mind, and that's what your body wants. Your body wants more than a picture. Your body wants that feeling again. So you need to energize the image of you being friendly to the ShopRite clerk. You need to energize that with the emotion you want to be feeling when you're being friendly. So that's the outcome. The outcome is an emotional state of mind. And if you energize the visualization with that when you're picturing it, then your body says, that's what I'm going to feel when it really happens. That is really key. Okay, take daily actions. There's a saying that Rome was not built in a day. Similarly, the life you want to create won't happen in one day, but will eventually in a series of days and actions. Okay, don't get caught up with how far you are. Instead, focus on the present and say, okay, this takes work, takes multiple times to do. Now, and then related to this, we'll go, before I elaborate, we'll do this last one. Trying to get this to move, hold on. Got this, the cursor is in that rotating beach ball thing. Hold on. Okay, you were faced with challenges. In fact, one important tip when you were doing your visualizations is to imagine yourself facing these challenges and most importantly, overcoming them. That's a really good idea. Okay, so you're thinking, okay, what is it that kept me from being so friendly to the ShopRite clerk last time? I was preoccupied with my phone. Okay, so when you're visualizing being friendly with the ShopRite clerk, you're picturing yourself, up. I'm tempted to grab my phone. But here I am leaving the phone in my pocket. All right, that's overcoming a challenge. Why wasn't I friendly last time? Oh, it's kind of like because I was really feeling in a rush and I was thinking about what I'm doing next. I got to get home. Oh, so now you visualize, here I am living in the moment and pushing out of my mind the fact that I got to be someplace, being here and now and being friendly with the ShopRite clerk. Okay. Now, that's the perseverance part. And that's how you see there's a problem solving function of the visualization where you're actually planning out what could go wrong with this visualization. And let me fix it now as I'm picturing it so that when I actually enter the situation, I'm prepared. I've already programmed myself. I'm not going to be picking up the phone. I'm not going to be thinking about what I'm doing after this. I'm just going to be here. It's me. It's the ShopRite clerk. Here we are. Okay. Now I'm going to add an interesting dimension to this type of reenactment here. The Rambam talks about Teshuva. And what is Teshuva? In simple terms, as I get it, Teshuva to the Rambam is when you mess up in a situation, you are back in the situation, exact same situation, although you get it right this time. Okay, so we're talking about that. We're talking about you start off in a situation where you're not really being friendly with the ShopRite clerk and you feel bad about it. And Teshuva means that when you're back in that situation the next Tuesday and you're with the same ShopRite clerk, you're friendly this time. That in a really small scale is Teshuva, as I understand the Rambam. Okay, and this whole technique of visualization is how you get there. It doesn't happen by magic. It doesn't like, well, I mess up this time, I'll just show up next Tuesday. Hopefully it'll work out. No, the point here is that you use the meditative technique of visualization to prescribe the correct behavior next time around, so that when you're in that situation, you are behaving correctly. There you go. Okay. So you could see how, like when we're talking about enlightenment, when we're talking about becoming a better person and developing specific midot, you could see what the work is in order to program yourself in order to do that. Okay, this is a way to do this. Okay, that's the point of this. So back to what the context in which Rabbi Kaplan was talking about, he's saying, so if you want to have a good involvement with your significant other, your partner, however you want to call it, when he's talking about intimacy, this is the kind of thing you put in your mind to have a better engagement. That's what he's talking about. And then, he got really advanced on us, and he's talking about using your mental powers to program the personality of your baby. We get that. But at a lower level, that's more usable for us. We're talking about, okay, here we go. We're talking about a better, nicer, more sympathetic kind of you, which you're creating in your mind, and your body's like, okay, I get it. And so similarly, the earlier point of this article was, so often we're behaving insensitively and stuff. Why? Because we programmed ourselves to. It's not a natural thing. It's like we walked around like blah, 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 and your body says, okay, I'll do that for you. And you end up being not listening, or whatever the more negative behaviors are, is because that's what you settled for. So a major point of this is that you have the power to decide, I could do better than this. And your body's basically saying, all right, tell me what to do. I'm ready for this. Just give me the right program and I'll run it. Okay. That's the point here. Now, as they mentioned, there was a bunch of references to what how programming increases performance, mental programming increasing physical performance. And there's some really fascinating studies about that, which I'm going to share with you right now. Okay, so let's see if I could do this. Okay, let's see if this works. Just bear with the beach ball for a second. It's still turning. Okay. All right. If you cannot see this document that says success tip, why not imagine yourself successful, scream at the top of your lungs. Okay.
We see the URL and we see your outline, but we don't see the article yet.
No, there's not an article, there's an outline. I'm going to read the article. All right.
We got it.
Okay. All right. So, this Psycho-Cybernetics, if you have not heard about it, this is the original science of self-image. It's colossally interesting. In the 1950s, there was a plastic surgeon named Maxwell Maltz. He was he's a doctor, he's a cosmetic surgery. And all the rich and famous went to him for cosmetic nips and tucks and all that stuff. And he made an astonishing discovery after doing all this body beautiful stuff on many people. Half the people after the surgery were like, all right, I'm a goddess or I'm a god now. The other half felt like I'm still ugly. He goes, what is that about? He goes, I just gave them a body beautiful, and these people still think they're ugly. He goes, there must be something inside that makes them feel the way they do about themselves, and it's not the way they look. It's not how their physical appearance. And he concluded it's a self-image type of thing. Okay, that's it. As I understand it, he came up with the idea of self-image. So he did this whole study, and he called it Psycho-Cybernetics, the science of the self-image. Okay. This was initially published in 1960, that's over 60 years ago. So the new releases are filled of this book are filled with stories about how his science of psycho-cybernetics was applied all over society by athletes, by performers, by everybody. And what are the results? So the newest edition is chock full of success stories, and it's really, really, really interesting. Okay. So we're going to go over a little bit of that. And by the way, those people that are Matt Fury fans, Matt Fury bought the rights to Psycho-Cybernetics, so he now markets it. He's a smart guy, and he's always talking about it. Okay. What does he have to say? Why not imagine yourself successful? He says, realizing that our actions, feelings, and behavior are the result of our own images and beliefs gives us the lever that psychology has always needed for changing personality. It opens a powerful psychological door to gaining skill, success, and happiness. Mental pictures offer us an opportunity to practice new traits and attitudes which otherwise we could not do. This is possible because, again, your nervous system cannot tell the difference between an actual experience and one that is vividly imagined. That's like a core thing. Like we said before, you've got a spider on your sleeve. You don't have a spider on your sleeve, but if you believe what I said, you're jumping and you're like, oh my God. Okay. So, and think about all the people who are jumpy or whatever, and it's like they have a bad reaction to what you say. It's not what you said. It's like in their mind, they've got a thing going on. That's what he's talking about. And so in their mind, they're looking at you like you're the boogeyman, and they're acting accordingly. Your body doesn't care. I don't know if there's a boogeyman or not. The mind is telling the body, that's a boogeyman over there, even though it's your friendly mailman. And the body says, fine, I'll react as if it's a boogeyman. Okay. If we picture ourselves performing in a certain manner, it is nearly the same as the actual performance. Mental practice is as powerful as actual practice. We're talking about real mental practice here, not just like daydreaming. When I first made this assertion, this is Dr. Maltz talking, back in the 1950s, and when others began it, it was a radical idea that you could practice in your imagination and achieve comparable results to actual physical practice. Today, it is widely accepted, having been proved by countless trials and experiments. Athletes of every stripe routinely rely on mental or imagination practice. For example, consider Dr. Richard Koop's advice to golfers as follows. This is a doctor. This is how he's telling golfers to behave. Before you play any shot, you need to have a mental picture of how you want the ball to react once you deliver the club head to the ball. You need to have a definite positive visualization of what your shot will look like. The picture should indicate the trajectory, the direction, the spot where you intend the ball to land, and how far you want the ball to roll when it lands. And he goes on and on and on. Visualization is one of the most individual aspects of golf psychology. Okay, so now we're quoting Jack Nicklaus. I'm sure you've heard of Jack Nicklaus. Jack Nicklaus has said, I never hit a golf shot without having a sharp picture of it in my head. First, I see where I want the ball to finish. Then I see it going there, its trajectory and landing. The next scene in his mind shows me making the swing that will turn the previous images into reality. Okay, he's talking about what this Dr. Coop is talking about. Jack Nicklaus did this. Before every swing Jack Nicklaus took with a golf club on a golf ball, he visualized what was supposed to happen. It's important to understand that imagination practice need not be restricted to your golf or tennis swing. The same principle of mental practice apply to virtually anything, including broader behaviors such as speaking up confidently and asserting your opinions in business meetings versus remaining intimidated and silent and regretting it later, or directly asking prospects for orders rather than leaving sales presentations hanging. Okay, like we said, visualizing yourself being friendly to the ShopRite clerk. He continues, I have developed a very specific regimen for mental or imagination practice, which I call the theater of the mind, which we're going to get into. It's great stuff. And if you read that Mark Divine book, he talks about this visualization, this theater of the mind. You're actually, it's not just like, I'm going to sit here and visualize before I have breakfast. You're actually in your mind going to a theater that you create in your mind. It's a purposeful, dedicated spot in your mind. And that's where you do your visualization, just like you go to shul to daven, and just like you go to the restaurant to eat, and you go to ShopRite to shop, you go to the theater of your mind to visualize. And you design the whole thing. It could be outside, it could be inside, it could have a couch or a chair, it could have an open roof, it could have a closed roof. You're designing the place that's best for you to use your imagination. And that's where you go when you visualize. It is great. Okay. Now, Research Quarterly reported an experiment on the effects of mental practice on improving skill in sinking basketball free throws. If you're not familiar with basketball free throws, there's a foul, he's at the foul line. Okay, he's standing there shooting for the basket, free throws. One group of students actually practiced throwing the ball every day for 20 days. And were scored on the first and last day. They're actually taking that ball physically and shooting at the basket, and for 20 days, and how many shots they made was recorded on the first day, and how many shots they made was recorded on the last day. A second group was scored on the first and last days and engaged in no sort of practice in between. First day, they take a bunch of shots, they do nothing for 18 days. On the 20th day, they take some more shots. How many did they sink? Okay. A third group was scored on the first day, then spent 20 minutes a day imagining that they were throwing the ball, that they were taking the free throws. They imagined they were taking the free throws. And obviously they imagined they were sinking the free throws. When they missed in their mind, in that perfect, they corrected their action. So, let's say, it would seem, well, I'm going to picture myself hitting every free throw, but maybe in their mind, they're like, oh man, I really stink. I can't always sink this. And maybe they even imagine themselves failing. Well, then they corrected that and they imagine themselves succeeding, hitting those free throws. What happened after 20 days? The first group, which actually practiced 20 minutes every day, improved in scoring 24%. So on day 20, they scored 24% more in the basket, physically. Okay. The second group, which didn't practice at all, took free throws on the 20th day. They didn't sink any more than they did the first day. The third group, which practiced only in their imagination, improved in scoring 23%. So again, this is a group that shot baskets on the first day to see how much they land. They then only imagined shooting free throws successfully for the next 18 days. And then on day 20, they picked up the ball again and physically did it. They scored virtually as good an improvement as the guys who actually practiced those 18 days physically shooting the ball. And this particular experiment has been widely reported and referenced and has since been repeated at many universities after years. There's also another story, I think it's in here, about Greg Louganis. You might remember that name as a diver. Okay. Greg Louganis talks about in his mind, when he practiced in his mind like 19 times and only did the 20th actually. But his mind, he pictured, and all these twists, it's really twists and turns and loops and rolls. He pictured everything in his mind in a disciplined way 19 times, and then only on the 20th time did he take the actual dive when he practiced. I think that's a marvelous stuff. Okay, so that is this. Okay. We're going to stay with this power of visualization, this visualization meditation for a while, because it is so critically important. And I'm just going to emphasize, it takes a real lot of time. It takes a real lot of time. I still work at it after all these years. And you have to make a decision. Well, I'll hold that for another time. Okay. Yeah. But if you do it, you could see, as homework, I would like to ask you, just after this class, or the next few days, just pay attention to the visualizing you're doing on an ordinary basis. So like, let's suppose tomorrow you wake up and you have to drive to the store. Realize how you're picturing the route you're going to take to go to the store. I mean, it's almost like an automatic thing. If I was going to go on a ShopRite tomorrow, I would picture myself through the Comet, Chandler Drive, Fairlawn Avenue, River Road, there we go. That's in your mind. Okay, so we do this automatically. We're just talking about taking charge of that and using it to our benefit in many other places besides the routine stuff that we're used to, number one. And number two, taking charge of it so that if we've been having negative outcomes, reprogramming the visualization to a positive outcome, a good outcome. Because your body's just following what the mind's telling it. Okay, we're not going to do Bhante. There's a lot of stuff here. We're going to save a special time for Bhante, but I want to get to the meditation. Okay. Margaret.